And the question is as follows. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
In your recent speech on the topic of death, you mentioned that if someone has not seen something in some form when awake, he would not see it in his dreams. Could you please elaborate? Is it only about objects or about events too? What about the cases when people see a picture from the future? Is it because our soul is outside time? What about seeing Masumin or unknown creatures?
Yeah. The point was something that Rumi said, and Ayatollah Mutahari also says with reference to that, based on Islamic philosophy, that if you have not had experience of something at all when you are awake, then you would not dream it. So Rumi says, an elephant dreams of India. Why? Because elephant comes from India, knows India. But a donkey would not dream India, because donkey, for example, comes from another place. The point is this: during the dream, your mind uses images that are stored. We have an archive of images. Our mind works with them, puts them together, either with absolute freedom, just plays with them. And this is when our dreams are not that much significant. We see things, we see people, but no meaning. Or sometimes mind ascends and gets connected to the world of the spirits, to the alwah of knowledge of Allah, and can understand something important, something new, something that has not happened. But again, for dreaming those things, uses those images, because these images are familiar. For example, maybe there is a very important tawfiq that Allah is going to give me, an important, opportunity of learning Allah is going to give me. But tawfiq doesn't have an image of itself. My mind is going to use, for example, something like water or something like that, a spring, etc., so that I can have that dream. So you should have somehow experienced that before, and now mind is going to use those images either freely, with maximum liberty, or if it is based on some transcendent realities, still the way it's going to happen in my dream is by using those images which are familiar to me.
Thank you. There were some other live questions at this time. One is that, can we do qaza for mustahabbat? Can we have do qaza for mustahabbat?
For nawafil, yes. For nawafil yawmiyya, for many of them, no, there is no qada. But nawafil yawmiyya are so important that we can do or should do qada. One of the students of Ayatollah Ansari Hamadani says, I told Agha that I am very young. He was a person who had interest in spirituality. He was attending regularly his lectures, but he was not a talab, etc. But he was very spiritual. So he said, when I was very young, I told Agha, it's difficult for me to wake up for tahajjud. I have no good feeling. He said, Agha said, wake up and then inshallah you will feel good. And if you cannot do it, at least do qadha. In our fiqh, our mujtahideen say nawafil yawmiyya have qada. So you can do qada, for example, of Salatul Layl. And Ghusl Jum'ah also, we can say that has qada. Some of them only, but many of them, most of them, they don't have qada, mustahabbat.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There is another question, and it is as follows: if we can get hurt from people as believers and it penetrates the heart, how can one easily mend this heart? And should a believer go after his right and talk about the wrong that the person did to them?
In some of recent lectures on Islamic Plan for Life, we talked about this. But because I don't remember, so I cannot refer directly, but I give answer anyway. When we are wronged, and if you are really sure that you are wrong, because many times it's mistake, it's misunderstanding, miscommunication. But if you are really wronged, first, it's real, certain. Number two, and you are really sure that you didn't cause this, because sometimes I do something that then other person wrongs me. Like, for example, someone is driving and I jump over the road and stand, for example, or occur in front of his car. He may say bad words to me, but I have caused this problem. I'm not saying he had the right, but I have caused this problem. So I have to check if he really wronged me. Number two, and I didn't initiate this. Then I have to see, is this person really meaning to harm me, or he's a human being like me. I have problems, weaknesses. He has also problems and weaknesses. It's not that he really is so mean that he enjoys hurting me. Then I can forgive them. But if I see, no, he wants to really harm me, and he's a vicious person, or there is a systematic injustice happening by this person, who is a part of, for example, a bigger attempt, etc., then you can choose different policies about how to deal with this. The first assumption is to forgive, unless it is proved that forgiveness is not helpful, because this person wants to keep doing this, and forgiveness is going to cause more problem. But first assumption is to forgive, especially among family members, friends. We should be very, lenient and very flexible, and not take even notice of many things. Sometimes people say something. Actually, a few days ago, someone wanted, to over phone to say something. I have to say some details so that it makes sense, but I don't say the details, so I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense. Anyway, he wanted to say that, we are still, loving you, etc. And because of this, although you are not here, we keep your name, for example, where, etc. And I said, I just want to help you. You don't need to do this. And later, I was very unhappy, why he said this. If you really love me, you shouldn't talk like this. And also, you are not benefiting me. I am benefiting you. And so I was not happy. But then I said, I know he doesn't mean bad, and I should just forget it.
Thank you, Sheikhna, for helping us make it very clear, and also some examples. There's one more question here related to followership, and yes. It's as follows: if you don't have a good leader,
yes,
which parts of followership, and we're talking about when we talk which parts of followership, like the ones that were described in the course, which parts of followership need to be implemented and which parts need to be adjusted? If you don't have a good leader, which parts of followerships need to be implemented and which parts need to be adjusted?
Is it different from a similar question we had last?
I think the question was there, but it was deferred for another time.
Because I remember a question, but maybe it was a little different.
I asked it myself, but we didn't. We didn't really. We said we.
No, I answered.
Briefly, perhaps.
But maybe it's different question. Anyway.
This question is not my question, by the way.
Pardon?
It's someone else's question. Just to clarify, it's not my question.
I know, yeah.
It's another student, yeah.
Yes. The answer is that those qualities for followers don't depend on having a good leader in place at the moment. Actually, having good followers would bless us with having good leaders. If we are really good followers, means we have those qualities, then Allah would gift us with good leaders. And among such people, certainly many become good leaders. And when others help them, support them, they build them as leaders. So my idea was not that there must first be actually a qualified leader so that we become good followers. No, we should become good followers anyway. And I am sure if we have good number of followers with those characteristics, some of them definitely become good leaders, and Allah would gift them with good leaders.
Since just to follow up on this, is so important and so hard to understand, perhaps, in light of today's society. Could you help maybe with some kind of scenario of how this would happen? How could we imagine that following loyally a leader that is not good is going to amount to having good leaders? Isn't the bad leader going to drive us to destruction?
No, I don't say to follow bad leaders. I'm saying that those characteristics of followers, they have to be pious, they have to be loyal, they have to be thinking, analyzing, having good PR, keep things confidential. Okay, so all those qualities that we mentioned, they should be there, whether there is good leader or not. They should be there. And if we have those qualities, then for sure we can find out who are the best leaders with at least a minimum of qualifications. If there is no minimum of qualification, okay, we don't follow them. But if there is at least minimum qualification, we follow them, we help them, and they become good leaders. And for sure, they would not be out of the group of people with these qualities. Otherwise, they would not have the minimum of qualifications. So when you have, for example, in a community, 10, 20, 30, 40 people with those characteristics, definitely that society is blessed to have few good leaders. Not maybe worldly leaders, but at least for that community.
Thank you so much for that.
We have to invest on having good followers. If we have good followers, we will be blessed with good leaders, inshallah. But if we want to have good leaders and not train ourselves good followers, we would not believe in our leaders, we would not support them. Actually, we ourselves bring them down. And many good people would not even take their leadership because they see people are not ready.
Thank you. That's like many other things, quote material.
Alhamdulillah.
We hope to have a poster for that soon.
Yes.
This brings us, Sheikhna, to the end of the question period.